Hello and welcome back to Portimao on the Algarve coast in Portugal. We've had 3 races here today and it's time to get set for the last event on Monday. It's time for the FIM CEV Repsol Moto2 European Championship riders to do business once again around this 4.5 km circuit. Jari Montoya made it 3 wins from 3 earlier on today, and he's looking in pretty imperious form to repeat that again. Nikki Tooley was second for the 3rd straight row. Can he take first? My name's Elliot York, alongside me is Jack Dawson. We're going to bring you the last race of the day from this glorious setting. A nice little slow-mo shot through the gravel, looking over the circuit and into the mountains in the background. The riders are already taking their formations on the grid.
Yeah, we just see them coming down in front of our commentary box position here. Just watch the 54 of FIM Algarve, the top stock 600 rider in race 1 earlier. Just rolled past us, getting everything ready. I think he took a tear off as well. So, and here's what happened earlier on.
Here's highlights from race 1 then, and it was Jari Montoya starting from pole. Nikki Tooley got the whole shot into turn 1, but it was soon Jari Montoya who would take the lead back into turn 5. Here is the eventual race-winning move up the inside of the number 66, and although Tooley was trying his best to hold on to the tailpipes of the speed up in front of him, he wouldn't last long, as we saw a great battle for the final podium position race between that man Medina, Lucas Tulovich and Zacconi there diving up the inside of the number 3. Unfortunately for the number 3 and for the number 74 Birchikiwski, their races would end with crashes, but the number 61 made no mistake up the inside there, and he would have eventually beat the number 5 of Medina to first. But it was all about this man once again, Jari Montoya, as he did in Estoril. He beat this man Nikki Tooley to the top step. There was Tulovich, distraught after his crash, but the green machine of the number 55, the Italian Jari Montoya, victorious in race 1 here. Can he do the business again in race 2? We'll soon find out, as Zacconi, as I mentioned before, beating Medina to the final podium position. That looks set to be a great battle. There he is lifting the trophy. And there is the Autódromo Internacional de Algarve. 31 degrees air temperature, 41 degrees track temperature. It's safe to say it's pretty warm here in the Algarve.
Yeah, it's certainly not letting up, not giving any of these riders any rest. This place is already physically demanding and mentally demanding, and added on top of that with 31 degrees of ambient air temperature, it certainly means that the riders take a beating physically doing 17 laps around here. But they've done it once and they sure can do it again, as we see them getting ready for the race, ready to go under their umbrellas, making sure they stay cool and also keeping the bike cool.
Absolutely right, 31 degrees, you want to be keeping as cool as possible. It's hot, but it won't be as hot as it will be in Jerez later this week for the MotoGP riders as we get set to welcome them back. But first up, here is Jari Montoya. He has, well, it's safe to say, dominated proceedings at the start of 2020. 3 wins on the bounce, 2 pole positions, although we did start the first race in Estoril from 7th, but made no mistake coming through to finish first there, and he's looking like a man really on a mission to take a double victory here.
Yeah, it looks like he means business in 2020. Of course, looks as though he's taken a big step up from last year, and it just seems as though he's at that another level and ready to, I'd say, move on to the World Championship stage. Nikki Tooley, 2nd place on the grid again. You see there, he's always cool, calm and collected, joking around.
I think that's just him indicating there that he's going to try draft Montoya and try and beat him, but we'll have to wait and find out. He's in good spirits though, Nikki Tooley. That's good to see. He's not too disheartened from 3 consecutive P2s.
Certainly not. I don't think he'd be too disheartened. Of course, this man is pretty mentally tough and physically tough. Last year he had 2 really big injuries. I believe the first one was he broke his leg, was it something?
Yeah, so
something like that.
Moto2 at Mazzano, he broke his femur, and I think he did something to his wrist as well. That put him out for the season. And a big crash at Valencia as well in the European Moto2 Championship. So not the best of scenes for Nikki Tooley, but he's well and truly back in 2020. We should have mentioned that at the top of the show, Jack. Well done for bringing that up. As we look at Lucas Tulovich, the man who unfortunately crashed out of race 1. That was his second DNF in there after crashing out as well in the second race in Estoril. So he'll be making, well, he'll be wanting to make amends and try and challenge for the podium, which he was doing in the first race before he slipped off. Yeah,
he certainly was. He was in that 3rd place, just holding station behind the top 2 guys, and then a couple of guys, Medina, got past him, and he regrouped, caught back up to them, and then just unfortunately had a little slip off. Adam Norridin, he'll be looking to go a little bit better in the second race. Of course, finished 5th in the first one, so pretty good from him. He'll start from P4 again, and yeah, obviously all the Malaysian fans out there will be supporting this man.
Yeah, he spent 3 years in Moto3, best of 5th place in Argentina, as we mentioned earlier. So this is a sort of a confidence regathering for the Malaysian rider riding the Liqui Moly intact Sepang International Circuit Junior team.
Yeah, a bit of a mouthful, that one, quite a long
was, wasn't
team name. Alejandro Medina, of course, not only doing this but also Moto2, as we said earlier. He went pretty well in the first race. We saw him having that battle with Tulovich and Zacconi. Of course, just came out behind Zacconi for the final spot on the podium. Hopefully, for his sake, he'll be looking to go 1 better, maybe even 2 better or 3 better. He is a racer after all, so he definitely believes that he'll be challenging for the top.
Yeah, absolutely. That podium battle in the first race really was something to behold, and it was eventually won by this man, Alessandro Zacconi. He'll line up 6th again for race 2. 4th, 3rd and 3rd so far in 2020. It's just popped up there. So a very good start to his season. He finished 3rd last year. So he'll be hoping he can penetrate the top 2 in the championship, but at the minute, of course, Jari Monteiro and Nikki Tooley are occupying those positions there, and they are looking like they're going to be difficult to beat. So if Zacconi can get another podium here, that stands him in good stead to have a month off the Moto2 bike.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Zacconi, last year, of course, he was pretty good. As Elliot's just said, he was top 3 at the end of the year. And with, you know, the two that finished ahead of him moving up to the World Championship, he probably presumed that he would be the one fighting for the wins, but it seems that others have taken a step up around, so we'll just have to see if he can take the same step. Here's Carlos. A little bit of a disappointing race for him, obviously. Finished down in 19th last time after a slip-off, it was, wasn't it?
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, Carlos looking to regroup here. Starts from 7th, so pretty good position for him to try and get his hooks into the likes of Zacconi, Medina and Norridin, and Tulovich as well, and claw himself up to the fight for that podium place.
Yeah, before Tulovich and Carlos crashed, we really did have a fantastic podium battle raging on between the likes of Tulovich and Carlos, Norridin, Medina, Zacconi, and this man, Birchikiwski, who also crashed in the first race. So if they all stay on board the machines, it looks like we've got a cracking race on our hands for the final podium positions, if we assume that Monteiro and Tooley are going to be just that little bit ahead of these guys.
Yeah, you'd imagine so, and obviously the man we just saw on screen, Piotr Birchikiwski, will be a little bit disappointed after slipping off in the first race, but I fully expect him to be around that fight for the top 6, hopefully. You know, he was around there last time in Estoril, so don't be surprised if you see him coming through from 8th on the grid and mixing it amongst those guys. Absolutely, and not quite sure if we're going to see Firmin Algarve. Oh, yep, we are. Here he is. He's been super impressive, as we mentioned at the top of the programme. The stock 600 rider, 10th, 9th and 7th overall.
first in class in all of those races, so it's really been a very, very good season for the 15-year-old Spaniard, moving up from the European Talent Cup, finished third in that championship with 3 times a second place.
Yeah, it really has been very impressive. Anyways, we see all the mechanics start to leave the grid, and very shortly we'll be looking at our starting grid.
Here we go then, it's Jari Montoya from Tooley and Tulovich on row 1, with row 2 Noridin, Medina and Zacconi. Row 3 is Carlos, Birchikiwski and Algarve.
Yeah, following up Algarve will be another stock 600 rider, Alex Toledo from Tiger Harder, who came through at the end of that race, and Mattia Rato. Row 5 is Alessandro Zacconi, Johan Diaz and Sam Wilford, who got his first top 10 in the Moto2 European Championship from Ishizuka, Siba and August. Kevin August, that is.
Row 7 will be Jake Archer from Leon August, and then 21st on the grid is Andreas Koffler, and row 8 is Connor Funk. So let's see if the script will be the same as the first race. I'm looking forward to seeing if Tiger Harder can come through again. Showed really great late race pace. I messed that one up last time I said it as well. So yeah, looking forward to see if he can come through. And also Firmin Algarve, he's gone better and better every single race he's done in this European Championship this year. 10th, 9th and 7th. If he breaks into the top 6, that will be outstanding. Yeah, it really will, and that's the 2 men you've just mentioned at the front, actually leading down into turn 1, I think. They'll be hoping they can do that in the race, but I don't think that will be quite possible. But we mentioned Firmin Algarve, he was just off the podium battle actually in that first race, and to say he's mixing it with the Moto2 bikes, which you'd say have a little bit of an edge on the stock 600 bikes, was really, really impressive, and we can't speak highly enough of the 15-year-old tackling a super stock 600 bike around this circuit.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that he's come off the ETC machine and he's on a stock 600, which is a 120 horsepower machine and 160 kilos as well. And he's taken to it like a duck to water. He's been absolutely brilliant, and certainly as 15 years old, he's one to watch for the future.
Conditions then perfect here in Portimao. Track temperature rising slightly to 43 degrees. That's a little bit on the warm side, but it shouldn't be too much of a problem for the Moto2 riders. And we saw in qualifying yesterday that actually most of the riders went better in Q2 than they did in Q1, so it obviously doesn't affect them too much. There's the championship standings. Montoya, 3 wins out of 3 gives him 75 points. Tooley, 3 second places gives him 60 points, and then there's Zacconi, the 3rd place man in race 1, in 3rd, and Medina in 4th. So it is that man who they've got to beat in the championship, and it is that man who they've got to beat around this Algarve racetrack.
Yeah, he's looking like he's going to set the bar again, is Jari Montoya. We saw him, we actually stood there on the inside of the final corner yesterday, and he was so impressive how he was able to just hug the bike to the white line on the inside and just keep it pinned. He was extremely impressive as he just flies past our commentary box window, doing a few little stoppies, making sure he's got all the temperature he needs in those big front brakes, ready to go for the final race of the day.
The red flag signals as Tooley rolls up into P2. Can he get the whole shot? And more importantly, if he does get the whole shot, how long can he hold Montoya behind him? That's going to be important. Tulovich will want to be having a good start from 3rd on the grid. But there he is, looking calm, cool and collective, is the number 55. As we get ready to go racing, the green flag waves. The red flag clears. The lights are about to go on. And we are racing again in Moto2 here in Portimao. It looks like a good launch from Nikki Tooley from the middle of the front row. Looks like to me he's got the better of Jari Montoya, but let's see who breaks later. Is Tulovich going to make it with inside? No, he's not. Montoya really good on the brakes around the outside, and he takes the whole shot. Bad news for Tooley and the others then. Can Montoya clear off like he has done in the first race? Tooley grabs 2nd place off Tulovich as he now sets his sights on chasing Montoya.
Yeah, Tooley's really got to get after it now. There's already about 3 or 4 bike lengths, and we know that Montoya is so fast here today. So Tooley, he's got to push on if he wants any chance of stopping the young Italian, the number 55 on the speed up, from breaking away and taking this win in the second race. We look back and see Tulovich and Medina. Those two went at it with each other in the first race, with Tulovich just holding up possibly the fourth place rider in the first few laps of the last race. So let's see if Tulovich can try and keep up with the top two this time in the early laps.
This is exactly what Tooley did not want. Montoya has got a clear track in front of him. He's now allowed to get into his rhythm. Tooley's just off the back of him. He's not going to be able to get much slipstream from there. And with 16.5 laps to go, is it race over already? Let's not call it quite this early, but it's looking ominous again for Jari Montoya. He broke latest down into turn one. And now he's leading. So there's Zacconi then. He's just gone up the inside of Adam Norridin, who was slightly wide. Zacconi, or was it Medina who was slightly wide? No, it was Adam Norridin. So Zacconi's now up into 5th place, I think that is.
Yeah, it looks like it. Adam Norridin looks like he's lost 2 places on this opening lap, down to 6th as they complete the first lap. There's your man, the one who's leading the way, number 55, Jari Montoya. Just looking back down the order, Tiger Harder looks to have made a much better start, so his late race pace will certainly come in, and we could see him fight, well, I'd say for the top 4 positions, hopefully. Just behind him is Piotr Birchikiwski. He's looking to make up for his little tip-off in race 1, and he's pretty quick late in the race as well, so watch those two coming through.
So the gap over the line at the front to Tooley from Montoya was 0.5 seconds, half a second in it at the front. So let's see how that evolves as Tulovich again holds 3rd like he did in race 1 before he unfortunately crashed out from Medina and Zacconi. So that's the same battle we saw earlier on this morning with Adam Norridin just off the back of those. There's Birchikiwski and Harder, like you say, Jack. He's made a good start. He's up into 7th, so if he can keep this pace up and then use his superiority in the last quarter of the race, then he's on for a good position.
Yeah, he certainly is. Just looking down the timing screens, Elliot, it looks like Firmin Algarve hasn't made the best start. He's gone backwards from 9th on the grid down to 11th, just in front of Sam Wilford on the IDWE Racing Calex. Just in front of Firmin Algarve is actually Alex Toledo, his Stock 600 competitor. So he's leading the way for that class for first time today, I presume.
I think so, yeah, because Algarve definitely got a good start in race 1. So it'll be an interesting battle that to see if Toledo can get the better of Algarve. But at the front then it's the top 2 clearing away as they did in race 1 and as they have done throughout 2020 so far, with Tulovich, with Zacconi and Medina in company as they come round to complete lap 2 here. Let's watch the gap at the front to see what it is between Tooley and Montoya. Tooley looks like he's had a good lap to me. Let's have a look what it is over the line. He looks like he's not edged out as Montoya, and in fact Tooley sets the fastest lap of the race and he closes in by 10th. But let's not get too carried away because we saw this in the opening race. But has Tooley made some decent changes to that bike that's going to allow him to race with Montoya? It certainly looks like it in the opening few laps. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Yeah,
it looks as though it could be a little bit of a spicy situation out front if Tooley is able to close that 4/10 gap back on Montoya. Just one thing to point out, Tooley's lap that he did, the fastest lap of the race last time round, was a 1:46.5 in the first part of the first race. Montoya actually did a 46 flat, so it shows you that the track is running a little bit slower. That track temperature's just gone up as we reach 2:20 local time, and it's starting to become a little bit greasy.
Yeah, it's important for these riders not to push too much on the opening laps because they're going to want some rubber left for the end of the race, as we see confirmation there of Tooley's 1:46.578, and he's not letting Montoya go easily this time around as we come down through turn 11, down the hill through 13, and they'll be up to turn 13 in no time as Zacconi is edging away from the number 3 of Lucas Tulovich. Good ride coming in from the Promo Racing rider. He's looking for his second podium here, and who we're looking at, the number 44,
Kevin Orgis.
Wonder what's happened to the German rider. Has he had a tip off somewhere?
Yeah, it looks as though he seems to be going okay, so possibly just a little run on in the gravel, or maybe a tip off somewhere. We'll have to find out more. Maybe we'll get a replay. But anyway, back to the front guys, and it looks as though is that, I'm not too sure. We just look away now.
Here we go.
We go back to the front, and look at that. There's absolutely nothing between them. I think Tooley's actually going to go for a move down into turn 1. No, he backs out of it a little bit early. You see the rear end kicking out as he drops over the top of the crest down into turn 1.
Sorry.
Zacconi is gapped Tulovich for third, so we'll see what Zacconi can do, whether he's got the pace to keep up with these guys.
Yeah, sorry, Jack. I was just going to say that Montoya is superb on the brakes down into turn 1. Tooley, I think, broke where he normally would brake, but Montoya was just that little bit further down the road and he's still got it made to the apex. So, but this is good from Tooley. He's closer than he was in race 1. Is Montoya just preserving his tyres a little bit? We'll have to wait and see. The hotter temperatures are going to have a little bit of an effect. Yeah, as Alessandro Zacconi is 2.2 off these riders, so it's really this for the battle for the race win.
Yeah, and you're dead right about Montoya being really good on the brakes, Elliot. Yeah, we saw it all day. We've seen it yesterday as well, but now we're seeing it again in race 2.
So it looks like he's just got a bit of an advantage. I'll put my teeth in the middle sector. Does Montoya? It looks like he just edges 2 or 3 tenths on Tooley, but then Tooley over the line, as we saw last time around, was right in the slipstream. So I don't know whether Tooley's got a little bit of an advantage as we see the 2 teammates battling out. That's Cardelus and Birchikiwski.
Yeah, Birchikiwski making progress. He actually dispatched of Tiger Harder, and now he's dispatched of Xavi Cardelus, his Team Stylo bike teammate. So it looks as though he's got early race pace, and Tiger Harder possibly not. But as we saw in the first race, do not count him out.
Yeah, the number 74 will be determined to make up for his crash in race 1. Right then, focus on the leaders. What was it over the line? It was 2 tenths, so that's nothing between them again. So like I said, I think Tooley has a little bit of an advantage in the last sector, whereas Montoya's strength is through the middle sector and possibly the first sector. So we'll keep an eye on that. Yeah, but we've got a race on our hands here.
Yeah, we do. It definitely seems to be as well, Elliot. Just reinstating what you just said there about Tooley being strong in the last split. He was 4 tenths quicker on that last lap. One person I'm actually quite impressed with here is Alessandro Zacconi. As soon as he's got through on Medina and Tulovich into 3rd place, his lap times are picked up and he's only lapping about a tenth or 2 off the top guys, and he's pulling away from 4th and 5th Medina and Tulovich.
Yeah, impressive from Zacconi this. He's not letting Medina have the battle that they had in the first race. So yeah, like you say, Jack, very impressive from Zacconi as the 2 leaders rise up over the hill. Great styles from both of them as they go through the very quick left-hander in a hard braking zone into the right-hander of turn 11 before they drop back down into 12, and they'll be up to 13 through the left-hander. And this is where Tooley begins to make up ground again after Montoya just slightly edges out in that middle sector. So let's see, he's pretty close here, Jack. I think, I'm not sure what corner he does make up his advantage on, but there's obviously somewhere. I think, was that a little bit wide from Montoya? No, and oh no. It's the number 7 of Adam Norridin. After his 5th place finish in race 1, he's not going to finish race 2, unfortunately, for the Malaysian.
Yeah, that's a shame for Adam Norridin. Looked as though he'd really made a step this weekend, getting used to the CEV Moto2 class, and yeah, big shame for him, but hopefully he'll roll on to Jerez at the end of August and come back a little bit stronger than before. Anyway, back to the front. Tooley, yeah, as you say, Elliot, it does look as though he's looking better in this race. He set the fastest lap again. They picked their pace up, actually. They were back to all the way down to about 46.8, and now the pair of them were both in a 46.5 that time round, with Tooley setting the fastest lap of the race. I'm sure it'll flash up on your screens at some point. There we go, just as I cued it. Lovely stuff.
It's great when things work out perfectly, isn't it?
Yeah, like a plan, eh?
Absolutely. It will be interesting to see if Tooley has found something, or is it Montoya just conserving his tyres? I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Tooley because he's riding really, really well. And obviously he'll have gone back to his team after the first race and said, we need to find something if we're going to close down Montoya, because that's 3 races in a row that he's beaten us fair and square. But Tooley's making amends here in race 2 in Portimao.
Yeah, and of course, and it's not just the fact of like actually physically beating Montoya that Tooley needs to do, but mentally he's got to get it into him that he can beat Montoya, and he's really putting an effort in now. However, saying that, he has dropped a couple of tenths off in this lap. The first split he was 2.5 tenths back, and the second one he was a tenth back. So Montoya might just be digging in and putting in them fast lap times. We'll have a look next time they come across the line.
Here's Zacconi then in a A little bit of a lonely third place, but he can't relax too much because Medina is pushing. It'll be interesting to see what the lap time is. I think they're doing pretty similar times according to our timing screen. So Medina, well, they were locked together in the first race, so they've obviously got a very similar pace. So I think Medina's just lost out in the opening few laps if he's going to challenge for the podium, but we'll wait and see. There's number 5 dipping down his toe on, braking hard. And Lucas Tulovich, as we can see on our timing screens, has just lost a place to Peter Birchikiwski. I'm sure, yep, there he is. Carlos has got Tulovich as well, so I wonder what's happened to the number 3.
Yeah, it seems to be a similar story to the first race, really. Tulovich was kind of strong in the... Well, I say kind of strong. He was strong in the first couple of laps, but then after that, it just seemed that as everyone set into a rhythm, he was just a couple of attempts off the back of that. We'll have to see if he can do the same and regroup and come back through them again. Just in that long shot we saw as well, you saw Tiger Harder on the AGR team bike, the number 23. He's just ahead of Firmin Algarve and Alex Toledo on the stock 600s. So we know that Tiger Harder's quick late in the race, so I wonder if he can just drag Firmin Algarve and Alex Toledo through and up into kind of the top 7 or 8 positions.
Yeah, that will be interesting. We just saw there as they rose over the top of the hill, Tulovich took a long look behind him and he was going to get a face full of Tiger Harder and the 2 stock 600 riders of Firmin Algarve, who has got the better of Alex Toledo. And there's Peter Birchikiwski in 5th place. Great ride from him, and he really is making amends for his crash in race 1, the number 74 Polish rider. Xavi Carlos will be hoping he can tag on to the back of him and maybe they can attack Alejandro Medina for P4.
Yeah, Birchikiwski's got a little bit of free real estate now to catch back up to Alejandro Medina, and sometimes that is one of the hardest or easiest of things, depending on how far that gap is to the guy in front of you, whether you're able to just cling on to them and get dragged up to the back of them or just lose sight. He's got about, it's around 2.5 seconds, so maybe he's just on the cusp of that gap where he can see him ahead and it just brings him up closer to him. Back to the front, and it looks as though Montoya, yeah, there we go, fastest lap of the race for Montoya, 3.5 tenths quicker than Tooley that last time round.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race for Montoya. It looks like he's just trying to pull the pin now. Our predictions earlier of whether he was preserving the tyres might be starting to come to the fore. It'll be interesting to see what this lap is, because if he does start reeling off those mid to low 146s, then I don't think Tooley's going to have an answer. I say low 46s, but he was in the 45s there, my mistake. Well, I think that was wrong actually, so I wasn't.
Yeah, he was actually doing a 46.4 that lap time round. The small graphic on the TV just showed the wrong lap time there. But anyway, the main point to take home is that Montoya, it looks like as though he's on the charge. He's got the full gas and he's pulling away from Tooley here.
So there's the standings as we run with 9.25 laps to go. Montoya and Tooley up top, and then there's a 4-second back from this man, the number 66. To Zacconi, and Zacconi's got a 1.5 second buffer to Medina. That's much more comfortable than it was in race 1 for the number 61. There he is coming around the corner, and there's the number 5 of Medina. So this will be another good ride for that man, the number 61, the Italian, before he goes into, well, he drives down to Jerez for the FIM Moto2 World Cup along with Medina behind him. So I wonder if they'll have a nice little battle in Jerez as they were today.
I'm sure they will do. We saw in Moto2 pre-season testing, if you can remember back that far, that all the times were pretty close actually. It was looking really competitive. A lot of new guys coming through, with other guys like Domi Agata stepping back from the Moto2 Class 2 Moto-E for 2020. So Moto-E is only getting stronger.
Yeah, do make sure you tune into that this weekend, along with obviously the MotoGP World Championship. But just concentrating our thoughts back here, and you can see the lap times are pretty much identical between the two riders. Medina not really making inroads into the number 61. It's just hovering around 1.5 seconds between them. Like I said before, they both had really similar pace in race 1. So with Medina just 1.5 seconds off, it's going to be unlikely unless this man, the number 61, Zacconi, runs into some sort of tyre trouble, which is every possibility in this heat. As we refer back to the leaders, and it's Montoya now streaming clear 1.5 seconds it is at the start of this lap. I think it will be a little bit more. Yeah, in sector 1 he was half a second quicker, which is a substantial amount in one sector.
Yeah, it really is. And just looking at the timing screens, Elliot, looks like we've got a Tiger Harder alert. He's just kicked into life. He's put his fastest lap in on the previous lap, a whole half a second quicker than Tulovich in front of him. And then he's gone and done his PB first sector. So it seems as though that late race pace, got it right that time, has just kicked in with 9 laps to go.
Yeah, I think we're going to see Tiger Harder move up the standings in a short while. Tulovich doesn't seem to quite have the pace to stick with the top 6, which is an unfortunate number for the number 3 rider. And how far back is Fermin Algarve? Well, there's your answer. He's right behind Tiger Harder and Lucas Tulovich, with Alex Toledo on the other stock 600 bike just losing touch slightly. He's just over 2 seconds behind Fermin Algarve. So it looks like Fermin Algarve is again going to take that crown if all being well. And if he can beat Lucas Tulovich and Tiger Harder on the stock 600 machine, then, I mean, we've sang his praises enough today, Jack, but this really is impressive. Yeah, it really is. Just 15 years old. I know we've told you before, but we'll tell you again. Watch out for him in the future. These two swapped places on the last lap, Xavi Cardaluce and Piotr Birchikiwski. It seemed as though when Birchikiwski came through on his teammate, it just kicked Cardaluce into life, so he's revived himself and he's moving forward again. Here's the battle we were just mentioning between Tulovich, Harder and Fermin Algarve. Looks like Tulovich has been reeled in, and there is the number 54 of Algarve, the 15-year-old. Really is something to behold. Can he get the better of these two riders? If he can tag onto the back of Harder, who's got late race pace like we've mentioned numerous times, then he could be on for another very, very good finish. And he's looking very comfortable at the back of those two. And are they closing in on the two Team Stylo bike rides in front of them? Let's have a look at the gap when they come over the line. But I think it's fairly similar pace, just like it is between Medina and Zacconi. It's just that gap where they're not quite close enough to get into the slipstream, but they're just far behind to have them in their sights.
Yeah, Fermin Algarve is actually setting a really good pace at the minute. The last lap round, he was the only one of that battle in the 47s. This time he's just dipped back into the 48s, probably because he's caught the back of them. As we just see, Tiger Harder moves his way through on Lucas Tulovich, so he's punted Tulovich out of the way at turn 1. We'll see if we just run a little bit wide, so Algarve might get the drive. Yes, he does. He's through at turn 3, up into that will be P8 place.
Yeah, Tulovich dropping down to P9 from P7 in a matter of 2 corners, so not the result the number 3 would have wanted, but Tiger Harder and Fermin Algarve march on, and now they've got Peter Birchikiwski in their sights, who's just losing touch a little bit with Xavi Cardaluce, like we just touched on. But there he is, the rider who finished 3rd in the European Talent Cup last year. He's been first in class in all 3 races so far. Yeah, he's looking to repeat that feat again and take another Moto2 scalp along the way. Yeah, it really has been the benchmark for the Stock 6 boys, as we just see him carrying a fair bit of corner speed into turn 11 before they drop down the hill. Got a little bit of a wiggle on the rear coming out, so tyres just starting to come into it. Of course, these Moto2 bikes, they do go through their tyres pretty quickly if you're not too careful, a fair bit quicker than the Moto3 boys and the ETC guys that we see earlier with their less power.
So what's the main difference then between the Moto2 and the Stock 600? You're used to working on bikes in the British Superbike paddock, Jack. What's the main difference between the two? Because they're pretty similar in terms of pace.
Yeah, they're pretty similar in terms of pace. The engines are fairly similar. Of course, Algarve is running a Yamaha R6, so it's a stock 600cc engine. And the Moto2 class also runs stock 600cc engines, but they're Hondas. So not a lot of difference in terms of engine, but the chassis is the main thing. Of course, these Moto2 bikes are all prototype frames, whether it's a Kalex, a Speed Up or a Suter, and generally just the chassis are a little bit stiffer, and that generally allows them to go a little bit faster in lap times. They can push the bikes a bit harder.
Expertly said by Jack Gorst.
Yeah, I'd hardly say expert. My dad at home will probably be critiquing everything I'm saying. But anyway, let's hope I got it right.
Yeah, you did better than me. But yeah, the Moto2 bike, just from the naked eye, just a little bit fatter, let's say, than the stock 600 bike. And talking of the Moto2 bike, here's a rider on the Moto2 bike. It is Jari Monteiro, who now holds a 2.5 second lead over Nikki Tooley, and it looks like he is well on his way to victory number 4 in a row. What a start to 2020. This is for the number 55, if he can keep it upright, which I'm sure he will. Hopefully I've not just cursed him.
Yeah, hopefully not. He didn't seem to in the first race, Elliot, so I think we'll be all right. But yeah, as you say, he has been imperious. 75 out of 75 points so far. This man, 60 points for those 3 second places. I'm sure by now he's getting, I wouldn't say frustrated, but just starting to wonder how he's going to be able to beat this man Monteiro, hopefully in a circuit that these guys know a little bit better, particularly Nikki Tooley with his experience of World Championship in both Moto2 and World Supersport. It's a bit of a happier hunting ground for him.
Yeah, these two really have been the stars of the show so far, and you'd think obviously Tooley's got Moto E duty with the IO team in between now and the next FIM CEV Repsol round in Jerez at the end of July, so I think whenever he can, he'll be hoping he and the team can get together and try and work out what they can improve to try and match that man, because he's really taken a step up this year as the number 55.
Yeah,
2.9 seconds ahead of Tooley.
And you've got to say, it's even more impressive when you consider the last 6 months we've had. Of course, these guys spent a lot of time not racing their usual race bikes, their Moto2 machines or stock 600, whatever it may be. They spent a lot of time at home, a lot of time on the cross trainer, doing Zwift rides just to stay fit before they could then return to training on their respective racing motorcycles. So to take that step and not fall backwards from his level from last year after such a long time off the bike is even more impressive.
Yeah, it's a very good point actually, Jack, that you make. It's been it's been around 4 months since they were competitively racing, and obviously they had Estoril to bed themselves in last week, but he really has hit the ground running as Jari Monteiro. Like we've mentioned before, he showed glimpses of what he can do in the 2019 season, but finished 7th overall there, so it really is something to behold of what he's performing at this level. The team wave him on, goes down there getting a little bit out of shape, but that'll be nothing to worry about. Tooley drops down into turn 1 as well, just passes the back marker, number 97.
It's Connor Funk, the American. Yeah, he's having a difficult weekend, but good to see him getting out of the way of the top guys as they come through. Looking back down the order, it looks as though Tiger Harder isn't making any more inroads. Perhaps I've jinxed him with that late race pace. I do apologise, Tiger. But yeah, he's still got Ferdinand de Geer just behind him, only 4 tenths behind him. So those two having a good battle for 7th and 8th place.
Yeah, the Tigers' hunt on Peter Birchikiwski looks like it's dwindling slightly in the latter stages, but we'll keep a close eye on how he can do as we focus back in on your race leader, and he's got 3.5 laps to go. He can enjoy these last 3.5 laps around this magnificent circuit.
Yeah, you just heard the bike screaming there going through the bottom of turn 9. They sound absolutely mint, these little 600s, of course different from what we run in the Moto2 World Championship with the 675 Triumphs, the 3-cylinder machines. As you just see a slow-mo poetry in motion. Keeping the front end down, I'm sure, using the rear brake as well. And then through this section that we just said.
Yeah, both these and the Triumphs that the Moto2 World Championship use sound absolutely beautiful. I think I prefer slightly the Triumph sound, but the Honda 600 certainly is music to the ears as well as we cross the line, or about to cross the line. With 3 laps to go, Jari Monteiro looks like he's going to make it 4 out of 4, with Nikki Tooley pushing on to pick up any pieces if Monteiro makes a mistake in second. But it's a pretty lonely ride for the man in first and the man in second. It's also a pretty lonely ride for your man in third, Alessandro Zacconi. He's 2.5 seconds clear of Alejandro Medina, so it looks like Medina can't quite challenge Zacconi for the last step on the rostrum as they did in race 1.
Yeah, and it's just been made aware to me that Connor Funk, actually, who we just saw getting out of the way of the leading guys, he's riding for the Nikos team, who've stepped up from Moto3 last year. So big challenge for them coming to a circuit with a new bike and no data. So that's possibly explaining why Connor is just at the back of the field today.
Further down, we've got Tiger Harder, Fermin Algarve, Lucas Tulovich and Alex Toledo rounding out the top 10 with Sam Wilford 10 seconds off Toledo in 11th. So unless someone crashes, the Brit doesn't look like he's going to repeat his top 10 in race 1, but then there's still a solid ride from the number 35 as we saw Alessandro Zacconi get in.
Yeah, Zacconi, not Regis Zacconi.
That's a throwback.
Yeah, that is Zacconi, that one. Yeah, he just had a bit of a moment where he actually went over track limits at the top of turn 7, I believe it was, and then came back down through turn 9, getting it all lit up and sideways. Sensational riding.
Still pushing on then is Zacconi. And we've not mentioned track limits really today, Jack. There's not actually been that many off-track excursions and track limits that we've had to look out for, but it is a thing. If they run onto the green bits that you see on the edge of most corners, if they do it too often, then they will get either a time penalty or they'll get given a long lap penalty. But they've been sticking to the rules today of the Moto2 riders, the Moto3 riders and the European Talent Cup riders, so we've not really had to mention it. As we see Montoya passing another back marker on his way to what looks set to be another victory as he storms his way round the Algarve circuit. And it really has been a perfect weekend and a perfect week really. Even 6 days ago the riders were in Estoril. They've travelled down the coast here in Portugal to Portimao, and Montoya's doing the business once more.
Yeah, he really is. And just looking further down the order to see what's happening with the lower places, and Sam Wilford is actually closing in on 10th place. Alex Toledo, of course, Wilford, the big bad Wilf as he's known, he got his first top 10 in this category just a few hours earlier, so he's chasing a second one. As we look back to Montoya again, so 100 points, well 25 points, which will take him to 100 points, awaits the young Italian. And he really does deserve them. He's been absolutely sensational all weekend and all last weekend as well in Estoril.
Yeah, I'll be on a ton of points, will Jari Montoya, and he'll get set for a month off the Moto2 bike, and he can head back to where he resides and just reflect on the perfect opening 2 rounds of 2020. And obviously he'll continue training and he'll be looking to get to Jerez in just over a month's time, well, a month and a half's time, and repeat the feat there.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll certainly be hoping for that. Just do a quick rundown of your top 10 as we come into the final lap. It is Montoya from Tooley, from Zacconi. Medina still sits in 4th with Carter loose, some ways back from him, about 5 or 6 seconds or so. Birchikiwski, pull that one again. Birchikiwski is just back from him with Tiger Harder and Albert Verdiger in 7th and 8th. Tulovich is settled in 9th. It doesn't look as though anyone's going to trouble him. And Alex Toledo on the second stock 600 machine in this race in 10th.
So that's your top 10 then, but they're all chasing this man, the number 55 on the Team Chatty speed up, Jari Montoya. Let's follow him round this last lap here in Portimao as we switch back to the man in second place, Nikki Tooley. Don't take anything away from him. This will be his 4th second row in a row. I'm sure he wants to stand on the top step, but if you can't win, then second place is your best bet. Down the hill then for the last time, Jari Montoya here at Portimao. He'll swing left, he'll brake hard, and then he'll swing tighter left before coming into the last section, and he'll round the long sweeping right-hander of turn 15. This is turn 14, safely negotiated for the Team Chatty speed-up rider. They'll open the gas. He'll be enjoying it now around turn 15, the long right-hander. And he will come across the line to take his 4th victory of the season, his 4th victory in a row. It's another perfect weekend for Jari Montoya, the number 55. What a ride from the Italian. Tooley takes second. he'll be disheartened to see the number 55 win again, and then Zacconi takes third, and it's your same podium than it was in race 1 in the European Moto2 Championship. There's Medina looking a little bit distressed with another P4.
Yeah, Cardelus comes across the line in 5th ahead of his Stylo bike teammate Peter Birchikiwski. He'll be happy enough with that. P6 after crashing out of race 1. Tiger Harder didn't quite have the same late race pace as he had in the first race, but still comes through to 7th. Fermin Algarve, a massive round of applause to that young man. 8th place again, so that's 4 top 10s for the Stock 600 rider in 2020. Lucas Tulovich in 9th, slightly disappointing, maybe struggling with the higher track temperatures, and Alex Toledo in 10th.
We're just seeing your double race winner and your double second place man shaking hands. Plenty of respect between the two riders, and they've both put on a show here today in Portimao. Unfortunately for that man, Tooley wasn't able to keep up with that man, the number 55 of Jari Montoya, but Tooley still celebrates with a nice wheelie down the hill as they'll come round, enjoy the last part of the Portimao circuit. And there's Zacconi enjoying it. He will be happy with his day's work. 2 third places for the Italian. Job well done for him. He'll now get set, as we said, to travel down to Jerez as he takes on the Moto2 World Cup with Trentino Guccini as reigning champion. Matteo Ferrari is his teammate, so that's a challenge Zacconi will be looking forward to. There's the man we've talked about quite a lot today, Fermin Algarve. He's your Stock 600 class winner for the 4th time in a row. He finished 8th. So yeah, a cracking ride from the number 54 Spaniard as Montoya rolls into pit lane, rolls into Parc Ferme, gets a big slap on the back from one of his speed-ups mechanic, and it's a job well done for the number 55. The number 66 looks a little bit crestfallen with another 2nd place. As you can imagine, it's not great to see your main rival winning all 4 of the opening races, but as we said, if you can't finish 1st, then you're best to take 2nd, go home and try and think where can we find the improvements to battle with Montoya, because it's looking ominous in the championship. Try and listen in to see if we can hear anything from Tooley. Out what they're saying, but he doesn't look too happy there, does Tooley, but nevertheless he's still 2nd in the championship. Not a terrible start to his year. 4 2nd places have got to be a lot worse, and we'll look at Alessandro Zacconi. That's his third place in a row, finishing 4th in the opening round in Estoril. So he is debriefing with his team. Montoya just looks cool, calm and relaxed as he did on the grids. He's come here and done a fantastic job. And there we see him celebrating over the line, pointing to his team, standing up. And they'll enjoy Monday evening, sorry. Remember, racing on a Monday, not a Sunday, takes some getting used to. And there's a classic Portimao shot of the riders wheeling down the hill just before they get to the Craig Jones corner. Soon be hearing from your race winner, Jari Montoya. He'll be speaking to Jack Gorse for the 2nd time today. And it's been a great day of racing, hasn't it? Perfect appetizer for what's coming up this weekend. The MotoGP World Championship returns, the eagerly awaited. I'm sure everyone at home just as we are here, is absolutely buzzing to kick things off. Finally in 2020 with the Premier class, of course, the Moto2 and Moto3 riders were able to get the race done in Qatar. But there we see Jari Montoya heading over to speak to Jack Gorst down there. Surely if he continues this, we'll be seeing him on the world stage in 2021. But here we go then, let's have a listen to what he has to say.
Jari Montoya, 100 points out of 100 is a great start to your 2020 championship.
Yeah, great start. In the second race, I did a great start. I think the more better than before, and I really happy. The race was so difficult because it's hot and with the bike with the front I had a little problem, but I'm really happy because I win again here in Portimao.
And in Italian, please.
Sì, ho fatto una buona partenza, forse una delle migliori, e sono molto contento. La gara è stata veramente dura perché fa molto caldo e anche con la moto, con l'anteriore avevo un po' di problemi, però a parte questo abbiamo cercato comunque di portare a casa il risultato e vincere qui a Portimao mi fa piacere, quindi speriamo di continuare così.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
There he is then, Jari Montoya, heading towards his second rostrum of the day, his second win of the day, and here's some of the highlights from what just happened. It was the pole sitter Montoya who led into turn one, and that was about your lot. Tooley did drag him back in though. He didn't have it all his own way in the opening exchanges, with Lucas Tulovich holding third for a little while off the front row. But Montoya and Tooley soon broke clear of this gaggle of riders behind us. Zacconi soon made his way into the final rostrum position, and he made it his own by just edging out a good second and a half on Medina. Norodin's race unfortunately came to an early end in race 2 as we saw Tulovich pressurising the number 55. And as I mentioned, the number 61 is Zacconi making third place his own in race 2. That man Medina not quite able to stick with him just like he did in race 1, with Peter Birchikiwski making up for his crash in race 1. But it was all about this man again, Jari Montoya. Was he conserving his tyres at the start of the race? Who knows? He said it was a tough race, but he made it look easy as he crossed the line. 4.8 seconds ahead of Tooley in the end to take another race win, and that's 4 from 4 in the 2020 Moto2 European Championship. Here are the results then from race 2, and it was Montoya and Tooley Zacconi on the podium, the same as it was in race 1. Medina picks up his second consecutive fourth, with Carlos Birchikiwski, Tiger Harder, Fermin Algarve and Lucas Tulovich rounding out the top 9. Alex Toledo was 10th ahead of Sam Wilford, who finished 11th on the Calix machine. Matteo Reto, Takeshi Isuzuka, Alessandro Zacconi, Nicholas Seiber, Jake Archer, sorry, not Jack Archer, Leon August, Andreas Koffler, and Johan Dier. All your finishers with Kevin August, Connor Funke lap down, and Adam Norodin unfortunately not being able to finish.
Yeah, one thing I noticed there, Elliot, just when I was walking back through, just inside that building there, you can see in shot, Nikki Tooley was hunkered down behind the podium in the shade, and Alessandro Zacconi was inside, sat down in the shade as well. So obviously pretty hot and sticky race out there for them. And Montoya saying as well that the one big thing that was difficult was the heat.
Yeah, completely understandable. I'd rather them than me, because it's pushing 32 degrees here in Portimao, and I wouldn't fancy wrestling a Moto2 bike around this tricky circuit as the Speed Up team lift up another winner's trophy. They've got 4 this year. Perfect start for them. Firmin Algarve.
Alessandro Zacconi.
Yeah, big hand to Firmin Algarve and Alex Toledo as well. Really good performances on the Stock 600 machines here.
Here we go then.
Yari Montella.
Yari Montella.
The Repsol free full check to the winner, Yari Montella.
I love it when other people do your work for you. It's great, isn't it? Yari Montella getting the check. He's second of the day.
Congratulations.
100 points then for Montella in 2020. Well, I'm pretty sure that sets him as the man that everyone's going to have their sights on heading to Jerez at the end of August. Yeah, Imperius, can't really say too much more about him. Nikki Tooley needs to find something else to late in the race, because early in the race he's really, really strong and fast, and then it's just that last 10 laps where Montella just pulls away.
Here's your championship standings then after 4 races. It's Yari Montella on 100 points with Nikki Tooley on 80. Zacconi not too far behind on 61 with Medina on 49. Tiger Harder, Javi Carlos, Peter Birchikiwski, Firmin Algarve, 8th place there, and Alejandro Medina in 9th. You can see at the bottom of the screens there, that's when we'll be back in the FIM CEV Repsol 2020 Championship. Just run through your top, well, the others: Lucas Tulovich, Alex Toledo, Matteo Ratto, Sam Wilford, Takeshi Suzuka, Alessandro Zacconi, Johan Diel, Kevin August, and then we have Nicholas Seiber and Leon August completing the 19 riders. Like I say, the Circuito de Jerez Angel Nieto, who plays host to round 1 or round 2 of the MotoGP World Championship this weekend, also plays host to round 3 of the FIM CEV Repsol 2020 season. What a day it's been for that man, Yari Montella. What a day it's been for racing as we get set for MotoGP Race Week. We hope you've enjoyed it. Me and Jack Gorst will be back in Jerez for 2 race days, so that's double the fun. That's a classic circuit where that man will be hoping he can do the business once more. Thank you all for tuning in and watching. We hope you've enjoyed it. We'll see you again in Jerez, and we hope you enjoy the MotoGP World Championship this weekend, where you can watch everything live and on demand on Video Pass. See you soon.
See ya.